Now, smoking is set to be banned for those born after 2009, and critics have pointed out the negative impacts that drinking can also have on your health.
Yeah, well, of course, if you're over 18, you can buy and drink alcohol. We know that. So we're asking, should the government get tougher on drinking now?
Well, joining us now is the owner of the Sandon, Kate Stewart, and the author of I'm Never Drinking Again, Dom McGregor. Very good to see you both. I think it's quite clear which side of the debate both of you sit on. Kate, let's start with you, shall we? Do you think that the government needs to get stricter with alcohol?
The thing is with alcohol, it's been around forever, for absolute ever. The first pub was established in 1947. Pubs bring £100 billion revenue into the economy every single year. The hospitality industry employs 3.5 million people. It's like everything. Everything is good in moderation. And, you know, we need pubs. During lockdown, people were craving to be together, and that's what pubs are for. They are for socialising, they're for coming together, and we need them in this country.
It's hard to argue against that, Dom, isn't it? I mean, so how would you regulate alcohol more without damaging an industry?
I kind of really disagree with the fact that the only way people can get together is at pubs. You know, there's plenty of ways people can spend time together, and healthier time can be spent together rather than being centred around alcohol. And just because something's been around for 500 years doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. You know, we get more insights and more data on things, and the world changes a little bit, and we wake up to these issues that alcohol faces. Alcohol is already on the same trajectory as smoking anyway. Young people aren't doing it. Pubs are closing at record rates. So I think from my perspective, when we're actually taking a step back here...
Forgive me, Don, pubs are closing at record rates. That's absolutely... It's not because people don't want to drink, is it? It's because they're buying it elsewhere.
Yeah, that's obviously true, but if we take a step back and what we realise we're actually talking about here is an addictive drug.
It is
a poison, which costs lives and is highly addictive, and all the data points to alcohol dependency, not just addiction, as a killer.
OK, Kate, what do you say to that? It's addictive and it costs lives.
So the thing is, it's like everything, isn't it? So if people are not drinking in pubs, if you're drinking in a pub, you've got a publican, a licensee there to say, we're not serving you no more, you've had enough. At home, you can go to the supermarket, you can buy as much alcohol as you want, and you can drink as much as you want. I also own CIC, which is recovery housing for people who've suffered from addiction, so I see both sides of it. The people service users who live in my properties, they live by pubs. It doesn't bother them. They know they've got an addiction. The thing that has to be done is that people need educating. So when you've had enough, it's enough. But as I said, in a pub, there is someone there to say, no, you've had enough, the door's closed. You can sit in your house and drink all night. No one stops you. We need pubs.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I'm not disagreeing about having places for people to come together, but when we look at alcohol, what alcohol is, it's emotional reaction, how people live their lives. And we've got marketing, which is pushing emotional connection with alcohol constantly. And people will drink in pubs, but also people will then hide their addiction as much as they can at home. And it's actually not the pubs that's an issue, it's the alcohol in general, where we have people drinking from young ages and increasing the chance of dependency up to 50%. By the time they're 21, 22 years old.
But what about free choice, Dom? I mean, I don't drink anymore. I used to love a drink. I don't drink anymore. I haven't had a drink for 20 years. However, I wouldn't want to stop other people from having a drink if they enjoy it. We've got a right to make our own decisions, haven't we?
100%. And I think that I'm actually against the banning of anything. You know, we're all old enough to make our own choices. But when we've got the amount, and we take betting as a similar example, when we've got the amount of money spent in marketing, pushing these products to people constantly 24/7, there's no reason people form addictions in these spaces. So when we look at stricter laws around alcohol, for me, it has to look at the marketing of it, but also access to it from different times and different ages. I think Scotland have introduced a lot of regulations which are actually quite good for people.
Kate, what do you make of that?
I just think as well, it is, if you've got an addictive personality, you are going to get that from anywhere. It doesn't stop nowhere. We're talking about people who consume far too much alcohol. Yes, people need educating, and maybe there should be stipulations on the advertising to young people. The age restriction is 18 and should stay 18. And And I just think it is all based on education, but fundamentally it's people's choice whether they drink or not. And there's absolutely millions of people outside the UK who do drink in moderation and drink correctly.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I would say about the education piece is it's very difficult to educate people 18, 19-year-old when they don't know actually the full impact of things. And by the time actually they've been drinking for 1-2 years, they could already have dependency issues. You've got 1/8 of people who have been proven to have a gene which is leaning towards addiction. So we're speaking about, I think that's 5 million people potentially in the UK who could face addiction problems in the future. And unfortunately, sometimes that's already hardwired by the time they get to 18 years old.
Yeah, maybe so. And I've got sympathies with people like that. I just think it's the big brother element of it all.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, look, Dom McGregor, thank you very much indeed. Good to see you. Kate Stewart, it's always good, Kate, when we have someone with a Northwest accent on. I'm saying no more, but I love it. It reminds me of being back up home. Eh?
I'm up in the Northwest as well.
There you go. Well, there you go.
Well, you've got two of you then.
Double.
Two for the price of one.
Two for the price of one. We can't hear you overly clearly here in the studio, Dom, but I didn't pick up on that, but thank you. So there you go. It's like a Northwest fiesta here.
Yeah, very
drinking
good.
And not drinking.
Yes.
Whichever you fancy.
Reunion.
I do think people need to drink in moderation. I do. Not overdo it, but you can't be big brother over it all.
Yeah, nanny statism of it all.
You've got to let people make their own decisions.
We know it's harmful, don't we? Just like we know junk food is harmful. Or...
Yeah, it's got to do it,
all in moderation. That's what we're saying.
And as Steve Miller would say, from a former Fat Families presenter,
Yes.
a little bit of what you fancy does you good.
Oh, he does say that.
He does say that
And he's
quite a
not
lot.
the northerner.
That's the theme.